Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Annabelle, Talent Career Corner at BioBuzz. I'm super happy to have you all here today and very grateful to have our speaker today, Crystal Rickards, joining us for another one of our great Career Catalyst sessions. Today, like I said, we're joined by Crystal. She is a seasoned project management expert and the principal and owner of MindsparQ. With over 20 years of experience in certifications like PMP, PMI-ACP, and CMS, Crystal has trained thousands of professionals to lead with confidence and clarity. She's also an adjunct faculty member at the University of Maryland and the creator of a top-rated PMP exam prep course. Plus, she also has a new book that's coming out pretty soon in early 2025. In today's session, Crystal will share what it's really like to succeed as a consultant, how to manage those client expectations, stay organized, use your project management skills to build a thriving business. Before we do get started, I do want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, BioTrack, today for sponsoring today's session. BioTrack is a leading resource for upskilling in the life sciences, having trained over 17,000 scientists through their cutting-edge biotech workshops. You can learn more about them at biotrack.com. I also want to mention that this event is part of the BioBuzz Talent Lab. It's your go-to hub for career growth, job opportunities, and industry connections. So if you haven't already, I would highly recommend joining the beta testing of our Talent Lab, and you can stay connected and access more resources like this. All right, perfect. So I want to hand it over to Crystal. Crystal, take it away.
Thank you so much, Annabelle. I'm so excited. And thank you, Verlette, for the hand clap. I'll share some more about that. I try to make this experience with me as interactive as possible. So there's a lot of prompts that I have for you in the chat window. There are opportunities to ask me questions in between, but most especially, I love hearing from you all. And I have an opportunity for you to we'll just do a lightning round Q&A session about, my experience with consulting. I'm going to assume perhaps that maybe some of you are dabbling or you're just getting started into the consulting space, hence the name Consulting 101. So my first question for you in the chat is, what title would you put on your business card if you started consulting tomorrow? Go ahead in the chat. Now, I'll actually do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 so that everyone can do it as a little chatterfall. So I'll give you a couple moments and then I'll do that 5 countdown. What title would you put on your business card if you started consulting tomorrow? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and tell me what would be that title? Don't be shy. Scientific consultant. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. What else? Owner. I love it. A few more. Founder and principal. Associate business consultant. Change maker. I love it. Any others? GRC, cybersecurity specialist. That is a question at a networking event where I'm going to ask, tell me more. And that's the type of question you want to get from people. Tell me more. Drug development specialist, another one. Financial consultant. Ooh, what kind of financial consulting? Tailored solutions, deliver it with precision. I love it. These are things that are near. I didn't get to everybody's, but these are titles that are near and dear to you, and there's no wrong answer. But be ready to really explain what is it that you do, and most especially, what problem do you solve for the people who you want to serve? So this is a real talk session for us. So I'm going to give you a little bit more of an introduction of me. I'm going to get right into the nitty gritty of the consulting traps and myths, how to use your PM skills, because that was part of the byline or the description of our time together. And I would imagine some of you are like, am I a project manager? If you are starting your own consulting business, yes, you are going to be a project manager, like it or not. You're going to have to use those project management skills, whether you've learned them accidentally or learned them formally, to really run your business so that you are successful. We'll spend a quick minute or two around a scenario challenge. But what I love to do is offer up the opportunity for you to ask me questions, kind of lightning round from an ask me anything type of deal. And then I'll finish up with final reflection and wrap up. My title, you probably want to know, who is this person talking to me? My title is Principal and Owner. I just came up with it. I don't know. It just sounded great. I didn't want to say CEO. I didn't want to say president because I'm not this big conglomerate of a business, but it was in my thinking when I opened up my business January 15, 2015. So I just celebrated my 10 years, that I wanted to sound, like a thought leader, but kind of have the freelancing flavor. I am at my 10-year mark, kind of at a crossroads. Do I want to still do the work myself, or do I want to build an empire? So in the chat for me, I want to hear from you all. Are you kind of thinking, I want to do it myself, or I want to build an empire? Tell me in the chat. Build an empire, do it myself. What are you thinking as you think about consulting? Because there are plenty of consulting firms that are mini empires. So build an empire. I love it. Myself, I love it. Okay. So I can give you the perspective of being by myself with a few people, doing it just myself at the start, because when you don't have the funds to hire people, you're doing it yourself. You are the CEO for real, for real. You're the chief everything officer. So do you want to get to a point of being the executive officer? And that is something that, just from a personal standpoint, there is no wrong answer, but you have to find the right answer for you. My background is being a project manager. I lovingly call myself a misfit project manager, having spent 20 years doing project management work and never having the title of project manager. I worked, my working background is in healthcare, specifically in hospital administration. I decided to try my hand at working for firms as a consultant, a healthcare consultant. My titles were senior consultant, managing consultant, engagement manager. And when I became a federal contractor for a health agency, my boss said to me, you need to get your PMP, and I'm going to send you to class so that you can be listed as the project manager. Even though my title was still managing consultant, he was listing me on the contract as a project manager, and thus I need to get my PMP because that was a requirement of the government contract. Of course, I said to him, what is PMP and are you paying for it? And then I got my first taste and realization, oh my gosh, I've been a project manager 10 years prior to having this introduced to me, and I've been going on strong for another 10 plus years in the project management space. And I just found my love of really the consulting, but the training. And so in a way, I could probably change my title or update my title to educational consultant, because that is truly what I am. It is the training people to be better project managers that has my full attention, my heart and soul, and my focus in moving my business forward. Part of what I do to kind of get the word out is do speaking engagements. So I am a presenter, a speaker at conferences. I've been a keynote speaker internationally. Now here's the little the little secret about my international experience. I was scheduled to be a keynote speaker in Manchester in UK, March 13th, 2020. I think everybody knows what happened that weekend. Just by chance, this is my project manager hat came on. I said, this doesn't seem like it's a good idea to travel. Like, it was just already, especially in the UK, just COVID was just getting really, really crazy over there. And I said, how about we do this virtually? And they said, okay, that's different, but okay. So I spoke to over, I think, 200 people virtually as their keynote presenter, still had rave reviews. And later I asked, does this count as being an international speaker? And they said, absolutely. So that is my story. Awesome. You were there. Awesome, Verlette. So you were there. And do you agree? It was a great presentation. So that is too funny. Yes, it was. Thank you for confirming that. But also, just as Annabelle had mentioned, I am also author of my newly released book. I don't know if it's the mirrored, but PMP Exam Prep for Dummies. So that is my latest project. I'm so excited. Already sold over 1,100 copies within the first week of sales. So for anybody that is thinking about writing a book and getting the sales, you don't really make the money on the sales. You make the money on the interest that you are now an author, and then they want you to come in and speak. But pre-sales matters. So that's what really elevated my sales for the first week. It counts. So that's a little pro tip for you. Don't just, oh, my book is out and I just hope for the best. Get people to pre-order your book. So that's another little secret for those of you who are in that space. So let me pause here and see if there are kind of specific questions that I can answer right now. Or are you good to go so far? Sounds like I see some thumbs up. That's awesome. And I'm trying to see, yes, I had a question for you as I navigate through all my little screens here. What is one word that comes to mind when you think of consulting? What is one word that comes to mind? And I'll give you some leeway because I know I have some smarties here. I'll give you a phrase, one word or phrase that comes to mind when you think of consulting. Expert. Yes, I expected that one. What else? Facilitating, clients, feasting, famine. That's right. Feast or famine. Can you have both? I don't know. It's sometimes it feels like it's an either or, and especially these days with everything going on. Advice versus fractional work, depending on the client. Multiple hats. Yes. Yes. Just looking through the list. You're right. It's all of those things. And as we move forward more into what I'm going to share with you, you'll also concur with, my expert and my specialist in my field and my thought leader. Is it feast and famine, feast or famine? Well, let's talk a little bit about it. So where's my little slide? There we go. So I just want to get right down to the nitty gritty of consulting traps and myths, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, I'm going to just go work for myself. People love me. They love me in my company. And I'm just going to go out there and be on my laptop and work deals. And it's a lot more to it. It's not as glamorous as the TV shows. One of my favorite shows with Don Cheadle and Kristen Bell back in the day. Oh my gosh, I loved it. They made consulting look so super slick. And, you come in with all the answers. It's not that glamorous. And in fact, when you are used to having an admin staff at your company, mailing, doing the paperwork, your IT department, if your laptop is broken, where you get your mail, that's all on you now. Now you have to fill out all of these forms. And especially for those of you that are looking to get some type of certification designation in your state or even at the federal level, if you want to be a minority business enterprise, if you are a service disabled veteran-owned small business or a veteran-owned small business, woman-owned small business, it's so much paperwork. And you are the one that has to do it. And you could possibly outsource it, but then that means you have to give them all of your private information, like your social security number, if you don't have an employer ID number, an EIN. This is where you are filling out forms. So I am in particular looking to get certified in the state of Virginia. So my business is based in Maryland. I am a minority business enterprise, but it doesn't reciprocate in the state of Virginia. So their version of a minority business honest to goodness, it is 20 items that I need to provide. And I have all these items. It's just, I got to take the time to do it. And I don't have someone that I can outsource to do that. Another trap or a myth is that I'm going to open up my doors. I've got my cell phone number. I've got my website. All right, people are coming. There's a significant amount of time that you have to spend around sales and business development. So in that earlier, Daniel, when you said feast and famine, that's what I'm speaking to. It is now you have to go out there and pound the pavement and start telling people, I'm here. Here's what I provide. Here's how I can help you. And oftentimes you have to find a different angle because our prospective clients, they're receiving this so many times throughout the day. And sometimes those emails are in the spam, and sometimes your emails might go into spam. So it is definitely preparing for the next client. I have had friends that have been on a project and they were on it for years. And they were like, oh, this is easy street. I don't need to go do business development. I don't need to network and broker deals for the potential. And then when that contract got canceled, and we're feeling that right now, it's like, I don't have anything. I don't have anything lined up. So another tip, hire a sales coach is my recommendation. Just by chance, I did because I attended an event at here. I live in Bowie. There's the Bowie Business Incubator Center, Bowie BIC, and a sales coach was presenting. And I'm like, I think I need your help. And he's like, yeah, you do. Because he's a good salesman. So that's where I just learned a lot from that experience. And now I know to have a full funnel. Oh, the added piece to that, and I do see the question. I'll answer that in just a second, Peach. Peach, it's good to see you. Target market is everyone. If you serve everyone, you serve no one. If people don't know how to differentiate you and how you're making them feel special, you're not going to come top of mind. I train people to be better project managers. And in particular, I teach to the PMP exam. That's my flagship offering. I can do other things, but if I put myself out there doing all these different things, it's too much information. People are flooded with so much information now that they can't process. So people will come to me when they sign up for my class, and I'll ask them, well, how did you know to pick me for your training? What made you come to me? And they said, because you're always posting about PMP training. You're always posting tips about PMP training. And it's when they have a magnificent experience with me in the training, 9 times out of 10, I have at least one student who will say, can you come in and help us set up our project management office? And depending on my availability and my interest in that particular company, because usually they tell me their dirty secrets, like, oh my God, I have to deal with this person. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that. But that's a call that you have to make. But I always get someone. I've had people try to hire me on the spot because I have put focus on my sweet spot. And that's the thing that I do well. And I decided to write a book on, and I have a course on with the University of Maryland and on Coursera. And it's something that I just have found my zone of genius. And that's something I want to encourage you all, is that when you find that zone of genius, who is specifically buying it from you? Trust me, when you do a fantastic job for that target market, they will tell their friends. And sometimes they will tell their friends who are not even in the same market. You have to work with Crystal. It is not laptops and lattes. And especially with the lattes and how much they cost nowadays, that adds up. So watch your finances, because I have seen time and time and again, too many entrepreneurs, myself included, when I first started out, it's a business expense. No, that catches up to you real quick. So let me pause here and answer the question. What do you think of consulting in this environment where so many people are now out of work and companies are cutting staff? Is it a tough time to do PM consulting? And then you have a second part to the question. So I'll say it this way. I've seen a lot of people, competitors, right, that come in, and yeah, I get a little touchy-feely when they're like, I can help you with your project management training. But I give it time, because they disappear, because this is not for the faint of heart. Already, I told you it's not glamorous when you have to do all the paperwork. And sometimes it's one word. I'm now a registered LLC in the state of Virginia, and now I'm working to get my minority certification. They kept kicking back the LLC registration because I was putting my title, principal and owner. It needed to say managing member. Nobody tells you that. Something that you think will take you 30 minutes, hand to God, it is an all-day venture. And some people get absolutely frustrated and they're like, I just need a job. And there have been times where even myself, I'm like, I think maybe I need a full-time job. And then I'm like, nah, I can't do it. So that's a personal kind of choice of like, what are you made of? And there are, I've seen it all in the SBA, where they're marketing materials like out of a job, become a consultant. It creates red ocean territory. By the way, that's a really good book I recommend for everybody, is the Blue Ocean Strategy. And I'll make sure that I type that in the chat, Blue Ocean Strategy. It is a very, very good read. And it really helps you hone in on how do I differentiate myself when the market seems flooded. So that's kind of where I will leave that with your first question, Peach, about how do I address that? You still figure out who you're targeting, what your flagship offering is, and how do you help them from a pain point perspective. Pain point, my clients, they can't do self-study. It never fails because my competition are the low budget self-paced study programs. Well, how I've fixed that is I have a low budget self-paced program, but the tendency is that the students who are in my class, they're like, I tried that. I need direction. I need guidance. So I still have a market for people who want the guidance for project management training. They have had the experience as a project manager, and they've just now said, I need to stop playing and I need to get this PMP. So that's who I target. And I find them, I'm focused more, well, prior to January 20th, I was focused on the federal government. I was focused on federal contractors. Now I'm finding myself kind of going through a pivot, and that's going to happen to you. So I want you all to know I have no problem with being candid with you all about even my struggles that I'm going through, even in my 10 years of being in business. And then your second question, how do I see AI impacting consulting? I see it as your bestie, especially when you may not have the funds to hire somebody. That is your research assistant. You're still the expert. You all said it. You're still the expert. So you need to vet. But if you're like me and you don't have time to work from a blank piece of paper, and you know how to ask the questions in the prompt, whatever tool you use, whether it is Chat GPT, Prosperity or something like that. I forgot what it's called now. Gemini, anything of that sort, you are still the expert, but that is your sidekick now to really streamline your work. So I hope that answers your questions around that. It amazes me that there are still people who don't have any I don't want to say understanding. They're not using AI. They're not using AI deliberately. Now, AI is integrated in a lot of our tools now. I mean, you get Asana or Microsoft, right? There's Copilot, just almost automatically a part of your work. And there are people. I taught an AI 101 class a couple weeks ago, and I know I was only scratching the surface, and I was blowing their minds of the capability of what ChatGPT in particular can do. So you have an opportunity to be on that cutting edge in terms of streamlining your work. AI can help create systems for you, something I'm going to talk about in just a few moments because I only have a certain amount of time. Perplexity, thank you so much. And then Kenyatta, you said, I'm currently studying for the CAPM. Does that lessen my opportunities since it's not a PMP? No, not necessarily. I think if you So I would say, do you have the qualifications for the PMP? If you're like, well, I'm shy of the hours, I'm, I don't quite have the, not hours, but the months and the experience are really light. The CAPM is a signal to industry that I'm serious. I just don't have the skill, or not the skills, but I don't have the work experience yet. But I want to be careful. I mean, there's people who will debate with me left and right, but they also are like, influencers or uh, those folks who like to stir up things, and they're not really in it. They're not dedicated. I'll just be honest. Like, I live and breathe this stuff. So it just really depends on what your ultimate goal is around that. Okay. But we can definitely talk offline, Kenyatta, about kind of your specific track around the CAPM and PMP. So thinking about PM skills. And I actually did originally say you plus the PMP. It's really not about certification. It's about using your PM skills, because that's going to be consulting gold for you. Number one, you is you and your interpersonal skills, and that's around the emotional intelligence. Do you have the ability to read the room, manage client expectations in the relationships, and stay calm when things kind of go a little crazy? Because it's important, those who stay calm, those who are proactive versus being reactive, you're the one who is able to pivot. I know we got sick of that word during the height of COVID, but you're the one to be adaptable when changes happen. That allows you to be a great stakeholder and be able to effectively engage your stakeholders, because you know who to talk to, when to talk to them, and how to keep them and everyone aligned with the ultimate goals. When everything was kind of happening, especially because I have a major government contract, I went ahead and created 5 bullet points just for my contract. And I used all the glorious words of efficiency, because that's why they brought me in for project management training. And he loved it. He loved that I was thinking ahead, that I was staying calm. I wasn't freaking out. I mean, he didn't know I was freaking out, but I made it clear that, hey, here are the things that I can make sure that we can try to keep this contract alive, because he wanted it kept alive as well. It's also important, and the scope conversation can be tricky. So be clear around the scope. Clarify what's included and what is not included. It is so easy to do extra work and you're doing it for free, and then you get bitter, and you don't want to be bitter. So make sure with the clarity of your contract, make it crystal clear. Here's what we are going to do, and here's what I'm not going to do. And when you find yourself doing extra work, that's where your spidey senses around risk management need to kind of kick in. Spot those red flags early and help clients prepare before the fire starts. Now, because I'm bringing up project management, you might be thinking, oh, do I need to have the bevy of all these certifications, especially with project management? Do they care if I'm PMP certified, CAPM certified? It depends. I mean, if you're specifically providing PM consulting work, yeah, probably that helps a lot. I know for me as a project management trainer that prepares people for the PMP, it is vital that I have the PMP certification, because they need to know, hey, someone who also has the credential that I'm going after knows what it's like, can give me insight of how to best prepare. So if you are doing something more specialized, in a technical area, clinically based, it requires a PhD, then yes, you would need those requisite credentials or certifications. So let me pause there and see if there are questions related to that. And I'm see if I have a question for you. I like this question for you. Oopsie. All right. What PM skill do you lean on most when advising or working with others? And this can be in your full-time job. This can be if you are working right now as a consultant. What's the PM skill? Is it putting together a plan? Is it stakeholder engagement, communications management, emotional intelligence? Absolutely. What else? Strategic communications. Okay. Stakeholder engagement. I'm seeing a theme here, and you're spot on. You can be as technical as you want to be, but at the end of the day, it is a person who wanted this project, who wants this consulting engagement with you. It is people who you have to work with on a regular basis, and it is a person or a group of people who sign off on it. That requires that you have high emotional intelligence more often than not, that you are an effective communicator, that you know how to engage with them, that you are direct and honest with your stakeholders. You got it. It's all those things. I'm going to speed ahead just in looking at time. I am going to talk really quickly about some PM hacks, and that's templates. I would probably, you'll get a recording of this later, but, I'm fine if you need to take a screenshot. Templates saves my tail and my sanity every time. Everything from an email template to status reports. Going back to that client on my government contract, I provide him a weekly status report, and I have it set up as a template. I use Google or Google G Suite, my mail system, and you can set up templates. I know you can set up templates in Microsoft Outlook. I highly recommend that you do that, whether it's templates from an email standpoint, templates from a status report. Use those templates. And I have a template for proposals. I'm able, every time a client, because usually it's, especially if you are staying in your zone of genius, it's the typical type of frustrations that they have. You're just changing the names and kind of the level of scope and some details so that it's relevant to them. I get them something out within a quickness. I always say, hey, I'm going to try to get it to you within 48 hours, just in case something pops off. But generally speaking, I can get it to them within 24 hours. And when I provide that level of service within 24 hours versus 48, I look amazing. And a pro tip with your proposals, include good, better, or best or VIP package model. It never fails. 9 times out of 10, they always pick the middle range numbers, always. And what you're doing is that the good is the base of what they asked for. So don't shortchange them. Give them what they asked for. But if there's something a little bit more that you can sprinkle some special sauce that you see as a value add, but price it accordingly, then give them that. And they always seem to pick that. VIP is just like, the Cadillac Maserati of services. They rarely pick that. If they do, that means it's a lot of work, but that means then I have more time and more revenue coming in. Where I got this, one of my favorite books, another book, The $1 Million Consultant by Alan Weiss. Hands down, he has an interesting, strong personality, I'll say, but his tips are just by far amazing, just amazing. So I highly recommend that book. It's kind of pricey, but it's worth your $30 investment, to be quite honest. $1 Million Consulting, $1 Million Consulting. All right. Let me get you into, I'll breeze through these, just a couple of these points here. When it comes to your pricing model, this is like the biggest pain point that people have with how to price. Ask a colleague, ask somebody offline. If you want to ask me, hey, how much do you charge for a speaking engagement? I'll tell you, well, here's what I charge. Here's sometimes what I get. Here's what somebody paid me one time. I'll do a quick confession. I had a client. This was in 2018, and she wanted me to be a keynote speaker at her company. And she said, "Well, for an hour presentation, we'll pay for your flight, hotel, and the best we can do is $10,000." And I said, and this is for straight face. I said, "This is for an hour?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "I think I can make that work." In my head, I was like, "Oh my God." Right? So the fact that I know companies can, I haven't gotten it since, but they can, that's now your new baseline. And sometimes for me, if it's traveling far, that's what you have to pay me to get me out of bed if you want me to travel. So just know that it is possible, but the numbers are all over the place. That is something I will say. I hate hourly. I hate charging hourly, mostly because people get nitpicky about your hours. And I think, quite frankly, it is not a good measure of the expert that you are. I do project-based or value-based. So here's what I charge. Here's the return on investment that you get. For this amount, you are going to get this potential with working with me. So I try to do it at a project-based amount, but you need to be careful if you work with some government entities, because if you want to come in where it's not a competitive bid, you might have to be under your threshold that you would like. And that was something I just experienced yesterday. And then some clients, you can put them on retainer. So if you want me for 12 months or 6 months, here's my monthly fee. It's use or lose. It's anything. Just make it clear in the contract what services you'll provide, what the expectation is, and what they're paying you. Anchor your pricing to value, not just what you're delivering or time, but what they are getting out of it, especially when they come to you. Here are our pain points. You're coming back with a solution that will not only address their pain points, but really enhance their experience and what they're getting out of the consulting engagement with you. I'm going to touch on one thing when it comes to, sometimes we feel like we have to say yes to everything. And I know that's a personal call. If you don't have like a second income, like a spouse or a second job, sometimes you have to take what you get. So for right now, the middle one, my rule is, if it's not a hell yes, I'm going to do, yes, I should do it, then it's definitely a hell no. So sometimes people will say things like, "Oh, it'll get you exposure. Oh, it'll do that." No, I'm good. I have the luxury because I do have a second income in terms of a spouse, but he's also a federal employee. So, and we're kind of like, so I might need to change my tune, but we'll see. So I've had, at least him as a buffer where I can be a lot more discerning. And I've always been very honest with people that way. I do, though, still say, even if you're the only moneymaker, breadwinner in your household, be careful about taking on everything, because you will burn yourself out. And that is something that I'm going through right now. I'm still here, right? I saw a flash. Okay. This first quarter and into the second quarter this year will be the best revenue experience I've ever had in my 10 years of being in business. I also realize, because I'm teaching every week, and that was just kind of a judgment, like with everything kind of being so tenuous, I was like, okay, let me get this. I booked this. I'm so burnt out. I am so tired. And I'm like, I don't want this for my life. But I'm also kind of like, as soon as June 15th hits, I'm like, now where's the money coming from? So right now I'm going through the process of business development, and it is hard when you're also delivering the work and needing to go to make business calls, go to business networking events. So I want you all to really know the facts, that it's not just landing that one big client and then hope for the best. It is a constant hustle, if you will, of getting more work. But it is definitely, sometimes being discerning about, is this going to give me the enjoyment as to why I got into business for myself in the first place? All right, let me advance. I tell you, every time I'm like 15 slides, no big deal. And I talk too much. That's why I'm a keynote speaker. Let me talk about some essential toolkits for you all. What I found, or I shouldn't say necessarily for you, but think about maybe what the equivalent tool is for you. I would say these are kind of the 4 key elements of being a focused consultant. Have tools to keep you focused. So calendar, and abide by your calendar. Stick to your calendar. And I am the worst at it. I sometimes don't adhere to my own blocks of time that I need to. And I'm trying to be a lot more intentional about that. I use Boomerang because I have Gmail. That pauses my email. That has been a lifesaver because I am definitely squirrel. And I just, sometimes you still want to get into your email because there's like material or content, anything that you can use to pause your inbox so you're not distracted, so that you can focus on becoming a certified business in your state. Use it. I also time block. So I use a timer, and that helps me with my time blocking under time management. I also, like the project manager I am, I use a project management tool. I love Asana because there's something so magical about a unicorn flying across the screen when you hit done. So I definitely love that. And as a way to keep myself focused, I started using this resource called FocusMate. So if you go to focusmate.com, it's a virtual co-working with just strangers. Nobody's talking. You just are online with each other. So sometimes it's hard to like get your business bestie or a friend like, oh, I'm not available. These are people from across the globe who are like, yeah, I'm committed to being focused. And it has been so productive for me to get work done. And I'm actually going to use that in working on some of my admin stuff. Try as much as possible to have a CEO session with yourself, and find a squad, a mastermind group, so that you can bounce ideas and not feel like you are doing this alone. Because there are going to be instances where it feels like I'm doing this wrong. And when you talk to others, it's like, no, I'm going through it too. And hopefully in my quick talk with you, as we have a minute left, this has helped you and reinforce it's not just me. I'm going to make sure that you all get a copy of these slides because there are definitely topics that we didn't get into. Scaling is a term that you're going to hear as you start progressing in your business, and you're going to be like, what does that mean? And what I've provided are examples of what I've done to scale my business, to work smarter and not harder, and to make money while I sleep. And that includes when I started getting in the revenue, letting go and stop being a control freak and outsource some of those tasks to my 1099s, and especially with delivering training to my subcontractors. So with that, out of respect for your time, I am going to go ahead and end. I had all these like noble efforts of being really short, and instead I was long-winded than I realized. But you all can contact me. You know, we're now in this global circle of entrepreneurs, and I wish you so much success in your entrepreneurial and consulting ventures. So with that, Annabelle, I'll hand it over to you.